Is there some time for optimism out here in Orange County? What does the future hold? What is at stake? All of that answered and more on this episode of Locked On Anaheim Ducks.
You're Locked On Ducks, your daily podcast on the Anaheim Ducks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome, everydayers. Thank you for making Locked On Anaheim Ducks your first listen every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. I'm Kyle Kjer. I'm a lifelong Anaheim Ducks fan. I've spent multiple years covering collegiate sports, including some college hockey. But here on Locked On Ducks, we always talk about the Anaheim Ducks and how things are going and what's been going on with this team, as there is a whole new look around Orange County. A couple things I want to get into today is what is at stake with this season. What happens if the Ducks have a complete blowout of a year? Who's on the chopping block? Will there even be changes? We'll get into that. I also want to talk to you about who I think the biggest addition to this team is, and like what their impact will be, and whether or not they will make a massive difference for this team, and why, or what the deal is there. And then also getting into kind of who I think is going to be the breakout player. If you've been listening, I've kind of been mentioning him for a little bit, but we'll get into that. And first, though, I really want to talk to you about where the team is in regards to how optimistic I feel about this team. And right now, I think there is absolutely 100% reason to be optimistic right now with the team in front of us out in Anaheim, as the new coaching staff has completely changed things around there. The energy of the locker room, the energy of the practice facility, even the people that work for the Ducks through different affiliates, say they work at the Honda Center in a concession stand, or their security, or they're at Great Park Ice working the ice maintenance. There's a ton of buzz around this area right now that I haven't felt in a couple of years now, if not more than probably 5 years, I'd say. Being out here, you don't feel that type of energy around the Ducks like I have been recently. So definitely a lot of optimism in my perspective, and it looks like among the fans there's a ton of hope, there's a ton of excitement, and the fans are here for it, and I'm here for it. And I think even the media is kind of noticing there's something coming out and brewing out here in Orange County. And I think one, it starts all with the coaching staff, of course, with Quenneville coming in and really just kind of kicking things into gear. You hear from a lot of the players that the practice is quick, fast, but useful. It's not like they're just out there getting slayed and just making them skate fast and doing a bunch of ridiculous workouts or anything like that. They're not getting, like doing Herbies out there, skating line to lines for no reason. It's all conditioning through purposeful drills. So whether they're skating and getting bag skated or not, there's still a drill going on. There's still something to be learned while they're doing that. And the practices go quick, they go fast, and the players don't even really have time to like get not settled in, but like, upset or mess around, or there's really no room or time to even think about anything but what they're doing out there. And it seems like the players love it. They love the high pace. They love the energy. I saw Zach Kavanaugh posted a interview that he did with Killorn after one of the practices, and he said that Alex Killorn said he feels like it's extremely interesting to go from playing against Joel Quenneville and always trying to game plan around his coaching method, and to now put himself in that coaching method and really see how his systems work from that side of things. He said it's a really cool new perspective, and that there is no time wasted. And I've heard that from multiple players, that there's purpose every single practice. There's not a lot of time spent looking at the board. It's every minute, every second is utilized at its most capacity that they can. And that's really good to hear. And that's really good to see. You don't want to see guys, especially at the professional level, standing around, goofing off, whatever, not really, taking practice serious or anything. And one thing that I like too is after the loss to LA, the next day, Coach Quenneville is working on drills in regards to what he felt was lacking. And one of those big things was the board play. And they got worked against the boards. They got worked at 50-50 pucks. They basically just got worked at any type of one-on-one competition, if that makes sense. And so he had them working battle drills against the boards, working 50-50 puck battles, and really just getting guys engaged and trying to correct things now so they don't just spiral into a snowball effect of rolling down the hill, not knowing where to fix things. And it's just all of a sudden the season's behind us. He's jumping on things right away. And I don't think that we have seen this from the coaching staff as fans. And I don't think the players have seen that from a coach in quite some time now either. And even after the presser, it's preseason. Quenneville could have cherry coated it. He could have said, it's fine. They're working hard. They're trying to implement the systems. But no, he comes out and says, nope, that was terrible. Didn't like it. They didn't do good at this. They didn't do good at that. There was no, I don't knows. I don't know. Ask the players. Nothing like that coming out of his mouth. He saw exactly what he saw. He exclaimed what he saw, and then he took action on what he saw right away. And that's something that you can build a lot of optimism around, because you see someone that's willing to say what he needs to say and do what he needs to do to get the best out of his players. And that is what Quenneville is doing. And then you're looking at the team themselves, the players. I see a whole new energy about them and the way that they go about their business. You could see it in the games. There was no quit, really. Yes, they weren't winning the 50-50 battles, and they looked a little step behind against LA, but there was no quit. There was no overall shutdown, just kind of let the game get away. They kept pushing. The shot count got higher and higher as the game went on, and they started to really try to make that push to get more offense going. So unfortunate that they did get shut out. I just was going through that. I think I said 3-1, but that was the first game. This one was a 3-0, no goals scored for Anaheim. So either way, both Kings game not so good, and Quenneville's taking over. And the players aren't accepting, failure. They're attacking it. They're getting at it. They're recognizing where they need to work harder for themselves, and they're recognizing what needs to be implemented within this team system. And I think that is going to be a massive, massive change throughout the entire season. And that is something that will trickle down and will turn into a snowball effect. And that guys are taking responsibility and they're owning, and it's going to become a more and more solid team as things progress. Now, looking at this year and kind of where the betting world has the Ducks and where the odds are, what Vegas is saying. This is according to the FanDuel Sportsbook, and the over-under for Anaheim is 83.5 points total on the season. Now, I'm going to go with over for the Ducks. I think they're going to get right at that 84 mark, possibly 86 points, just over NHL 500. I see that as an absolutely reasonable and attainable target for this Anaheim team. And I don't think that's too hard to expect. So I'm plugging the over on 83.5 points. I don't see that out of the realm for Anaheim this year. And I think we're going to have a lot of playoff chases out towards the end of the year. I think there's going to be a Ducks recognition across the league, as they're going to be in that hunt from day one. And I think they're going to be a very competitive team. And then looking into later in the year, you're going to see the Ducks really fighting and battling and trying to get themselves into a playoff spot. So expect some good stuff out of this year, and expect good things out of Anaheim, out of the players, out of the coaching staff, absolutely. Optimism is the name of the game this year. Now, looking at some of the additions that the team had, other than the coaching staff, we'll get into that right after this. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel when there's all these sports going on. It kind of gives me something to check in and feel a little bit more engaged with some of these other sports that maybe don't watch all the time, like football or baseball, about to be the playoffs, NBA, anything. It's all right there on FanDuel. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting fanduel.com to get started. That's fanduel.com to place your first $5 bet. So now we are looking at the offseason additions and who is standing out in regards to who the Ducks brought over and who's going to be really important for this team. So we saw that the Ducks have brought over Mikael Granlund. They've brought over Chris Kreider. They got Ryan Pelling. We've got guys like Matthew Phillips on some PTOs and some tryouts and camp invites. There's a lot of newer faces, but the main ones that stick out are those NHL players like uh, Chris Kreider and Mikael Granlund and Ryan Pelling. And then the one that stands out to me the most, and I think this is the guy that is going to be the biggest addition for this team, and not necessarily because of his outstanding performance or he's going to be throwing the team on his back, but he brings something to this team that is very needed, and that is Petr Mrazek. I think Petr Mrazek is going to be a major, major addition for Anaheim because not only does he speak Czech like the wonderful Lukáš Dostal, but he's a reliable enough goaltender, and he's not a guy that's really trying to take over and be the 1A or the first goal. Like, he's not trying to be the main guy. That is Lukáš Dostal's job. That is set in stone right now. He is not here trying to take over that net. He is here to support Lukáš Dostal, and I think Petr Mrazek is a perfect person for that position. He played extremely well in net against Utah. He looks locked in. Had a couple people tell me, they're more goalie people, and they said that he looked a little off in certain positions, and he looked a little looser than they would have liked. But overall, he stood tall and did an absolute fantastic job against Utah. And then just his career overall, he's got a nice glove. He's able to, get the pad across when he needs to. He's good at reading different plays, and he's just a good overall quality goaltender that now Lukáš Dostal gets to have as a backup. And I think having someone that the Ducks can rely on and have faith in to come in net so they can rest Lukáš Dostal, because this is going to be a test to him on how much the endurance and the physical play of being the main number one guy all season. We got a taste of it last year, but this is the official first time. And now you got someone like Petr Mrazek, who's going to be a solid backup for Lukáš Dostal. And yes, they're countrymen, so you got Gudis hanging out with him and Mrazek and Dostal. They're like this little trio now. Even Dostal said they're the two guys he spent a lot of time with, but he honestly spends a lot of time with all the team. But to have that connection and to have your captain and one of your defensemen, probably your top pairing defenseman, to be in that community with you and to have that kind of relationship, and then to have your backup goalie, all three of you from the same, not same area, but the same country and speaking the same native language, and just to have that kind of camaraderie right there is extremely important. And then to have the playing style of Petr Mrazek and to have the confidence that he's going to be someone that can come in and protect the net while you have a day off if you're Lukáš Dostal, like, that's going to be huge. And I think that's going to calm the nerves of Lukasz Dostal throughout the rest of this year, because last year and kind of the year prior, like, he had to step into shoes that he was not necessarily, I wouldn't say he wasn't ready for, but it was just not prepared. It was just kind of like a like quick step into the plan. It's like there was probably like plan A, B, C, and D, and they just skipped from A to C and then right over to E. Uh, but now he's the main guy, so he's gonna have that, and it's going to be the first year where, one, he's the main guy, two, he's not sitting there worried like, oh man, like I got to be the guy the whole time because the other main guy is out injured, as in John Gibson, or the guys below aren't doing so well. Even Billy Huso now, bringing him in, he's been a huge addition, and his confidence and the way that he plays the net and the way he's going to be down in San Diego, I think is going to be huge as well. But the main point that I'm trying to get here with Petr Mrazek is that it's going to alleviate a lot of pressure and stress from Lukasz Dostal and his game, whether it's conscious or subconscious. It's going to have an effect, and that's going to be positive for him. And then to have someone like Petr Mrazek that can come in and hold the net, it's going to help the team overall and allow their confidence to bloom in nights that Dostal's not in net. And then they're just going to know they have a solid tendy every single night that they're playing, and that's going to be huge. Now, in regards to guys that are not new additions, but overall on the team, who I think is going to have a standout year. I think there's going to be a lot of players that are going to have standout years. I think you're going to see Cutter Goche have a step up this year. I think you're going to see Leo Carlson break out. You're going to see Jackson Lacombe take another step. I think Olin Zellweger is really going to cook this year. But the main guy, I've been talking about him all off season, all last season, and now this season even more so. Troy Terry. He is the guy who's going to rocket off into outer space with Joel Quenneville's coaching and this new look Anaheim team. Just from the couple of preseason games I've seen out of his game, he's right back at it, doing all the little things right. He's a hound out there. He's cutting off angles whenever the opponents are trying to break it out, and he's the offensive forechecking forward. He's right there. He's in their face. He's causing turnovers. He's causing takeaways, giveaways, all sorts of great stuff that he can do in the offensive zone. He's doing, and then when he does have puck on his stick, it's like a whole new guy out there. He's stick handling around guys, skating like a madman, just cutting through bodies like no tomorrow. He's looking great, and his vision is coming together. And I think this type of offense and defense, everything that Quenneville's implementing into this team, is going to take Troy Terry to a whole new level. And I've seen him just buzzing. He looks elated. He looks younger again. You see him smiling a lot more. He's part of the Unk squad with Strome and Vetrano, but he's getting some mix in with Carlson this year and Kreider and Goche, and there's going to be a lot of mix-ups through the preseason, but I think Terry's going to be a key piece on whatever line he's on, and I think we're going to see a lot of scoring coming out of him. Goal scoring, maybe not as much, but definitely the apples, the assists, that column's gonna go way up this year. And then I think goals too. But overall, I just see him having a much better season, probably around that 60 point, 65 point mark, which only 10 to 15 points more than last year, but still those will all pay off dividends with the rest of the scoring throughout the team. So look for Troy Terry to be the guy this year for the Anaheim Ducks. He is my MVP candidate for Anaheim. I don't think he's going to be getting the heart anytime soon, but he's definitely going to have my heart this season. Now, looking at what's at stake, if all of this optimism and all of this goes the opposite direction and the Ducks have a terrible blunder of a year, what does that look like? So we'll get into that right after this. All right, we are back. And now taking a look at what is at stake for Anaheim if this year is god awful and terrible and they just don't do what we think they're going to do at all, and it's just a back to the woodworks with this team. What does that look like? Who's on the chopping block? Who's getting walked down the plank? What is going to happen? Well, looking at the way that things have been going with Anaheim in regards to the last couple of coaches, the trade moves, the players not being signed, the standoff into the first training camp of this new coaching staff with one of the main players that needs to get this type of training as quickly as possible. Well, I'm if you're not picking up what I'm putting down, I have this feeling that if this year does not go well and it is a bad showing by the Anaheim Ducks, Pat Verbeek, you're gone. You're out of here, boy. No love for you if this year does not go well. I think he has dug himself into a nice little hole. He he dug his hole with the Zegras and Drysdale stuff from before. He's dug his hole from moving off players that could have done great things for this team, but it wasn't his guy. Um, he's kind of given us a lot of fluff in the offseason and even last year around training, the trade deadline. It just seems like he talks a mean game, but then when things don't come together, it's just not really. There's no real answer for it, and it's oh well, we tried and it just didn't work out, and we'll just see how it goes. And it it seems like he's trying to keep this whole silent but deadly approach and the kind of Stevie Y plan of not talking about things and being a hardo and really just sticking your nose in the air and not letting anyone bring you down. But I don't know if that's going to pay off anymore. I think this league is going in a different direction, and it's okay to be a businessman. It's okay to be a hardo in certain categories, but when you're kind of just burning the bridges of your own players and your staff, and you're making things more difficult because you're just being stub-nosed and don't want to budge on certain things. Like, obviously I'm not a fly on the wall in these conversations. I'm not there. I don't hear the tone. I don't know what the conversation really is like. I'm not listening to the phone call. But just to see how the last kind of big RFA talks went, other than Lucasto Stahl, like it's just been a little scary. It's a little worrisome that this guy is just not getting it, like he's not personally, or he doesn't have the personality or the what word am I trying to think? The personability, is that the word? Like he just doesn't have that ability to really work a crowd or work people into a good conversation, and he's just kind of this stubborn guy, and he's going to make everything his way, and he doesn't care what bridges he burns or what he does in the process. And now looking at how the Samuelis have talked about him, it's hard for me to see that he'll be 100% on the chopping block if things don't go well. But I definitely think it's going to raise a massive red flag. I think he's going to be at least on alert. If this season doesn't go well and there isn't kind of a statement about Pat Verbeek's performance, I would be very concerned, and I'd be a little alarmed, because that's really the main thing that's been dragging this team on. And kind of, he's the GM, he's the face of everything. He's the one trying to put a game plan into place, and they offer him the checkbook, and then he doesn't use the checkbook, but kind of brings some people over, but isn't getting McTavish locked down when he's apparently got an open checkbook, open pocketbook, whatever you want to call it. He's got an open blank check for himself to write for players for this team. and he's not utilizing it. He's just stuck in a certain way. Yes, there's a lot of RFAs and some UFAs. There's different contracts coming up in the near future with a lot of these guys that need to be signed. So I can see trying to be a little bit conservative with what you're paying certain players. But when you have a guy like Mason McTavish, who can be a major core piece of this team, and seeing that the cap is going up, seeing how other players are getting paid out there in the league, looking at comparables, you have guys that are making decent money that McTavish's camp can come and say, hey, look, this guy, I'm only a few points behind him and I've played less games. I'm right there with him. He's making this much money, so let's do that as well. Nope, doesn't want to do that. So it's a little concerning for me looking at the way that Pat Verbeek is approaching everything. And he seems to kind of thrown his eggs in the basket with this coaching change. And he's not really taking care of the core of this team, kind of going like a Kelly McCrimmon style, just no love, ruthless, business only approach. But that works when you're successful, when you're going almost to the Stanley Cup, or you're in the Western Conference Finals almost every single year since you've been a team, Vegas Golden Knights. You can be a little bit stringent. You can be a little harder on contracts and a little more ruthless on trading guys and bringing in new guys and having that kind of approach. But Verbeek is kind of like, one, the team's not having success. Two, he's not being ruthless because he's not really doing anything. And three, he's just causing havoc. It's like more wordplay than actually doing something. It's like he's all talk but no bite. All bark, no bite. And it's not working out right now. And unless this year takes off. Obviously, if this year takes off, I'll be biting my tongue or eating whatever and it'll be good. But if it goes bad, if there is no improvement and the regular season takes off and the Ducks are at the bottom of the barrel again, then watch out, Pat Verbeek. You are on notice. At least you should be. It's that is going to be another conversation if that does occur and we get to that point and there is no conversation about Pat Verbeek being on notice. We'll talk about that when we get there, and hopefully we don't have to get there, but that will be a major concern. And as of now, still no Mason McTavish signing. We're getting deep into this training camp. The regular season will be upon us in no time. So I hope things get done, and I hope that everything that I talked about in the earlier part of this episode comes true, and not this part of the episode where we have to have these talks and questions about general manager Pat Verbeek. So looking forward to seeing how things go and having that optimistic view with what I've seen so far out of the product of this team. And I hope you also are having the optimism, and this new look team gives you a little bit of confidence and happiness, at least going into the regular season once that finally starts. So that's where I'm at. We're optimistic. We love Petr Mrazek. We're excited for Troy Terry. And if they do bad, Pat Verbeek, I want you out of here. That's what I'm saying. But thank you for listening. And thank you for making Locked On your first listen every day. For your second listen, go find Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Steel Roden and Flip Livingstone provide daily fantasy tips to give you the edge over your league mates, all while making you a smarter hockey fan. Find Locked On Fantasy Hockey on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Go like and subscribe to this podcast on YouTube and wherever you listen. And as always, I'm Kyle Kjer. Be good out there.